Two Trenton men who promised their mother they would care for her until her dying day are now being charged with her murder.
Two judges ruled there was not enough evidence and dismissed the charges, but the Wayne County prosecutor has taken the case all the way to the appellate court. Taryn Asher here now with why the brothers are now forced to fight for justice again. Taryn.
Criminals or caregivers? Grant and Gabe Baylog say they were just honoring the wishes of their dying mother, but their act of love could land them behind bars for the rest of their lives. Grant and Gabriel Baylog grew up like most boys, playing sports, going on vacation, and enjoying time with their family. But the boys eventually learned their family was different, haunted by a genetic curse that would impact the rest of their lives.
When the doctor came out at the hospital and told me for sure that she was dead, I just started freaking out. I couldn't handle it.
Potentially, there's a chance you could still be charged with murder.
Yeah.
Grant first began to notice changes with his mom in high school.
She'd have to walk out with me, and I felt like bad for her because I could tell she couldn't walk that good. And like I didn't want her to feel embarrassed, but she wanted to be there for me, but like I could see it in her that she wasn't, like it was already happening.
Their mother, Vicky, was diagnosed with hereditary spinocerebellar ataxia, a degenerative disease that destroys the nerve fibers in the brain and spinal cord. Over time, it causes slurred speech, trouble swallowing, loss of balance, fatigue, muscles to weaken, and eventually waste away. The insidious disease killed Vicky's mother at 52, her 5 uncles, and 3 brothers.
It's horrible because, I mean, you never see anything like it. I've never seen anything like it in anyone, but it's a huge part of our family. Yeah.
Symptoms started for Vicky in her 30s. The boys forced to watch their mom lose her ability to move on her own. After their father died from lung cancer in 2013, Vicky took a turn for the worse. There were countless trips to multiple doctors, including the National Institute of Health. But the boys say doctors told them there was no cure, nothing more they could do. That's when they say their mother told them she wanted to live out her final days with them at their Trenton home.
Did you ever get to the point where you said, listen, you need to go into a home or something like that? And what did she say?
She didn't want that.
Yeah, I mean, it crossed everyone's mind, but I felt like that would be giving up. I'm not going to give up on my mom.
I would specifically ask her if she wanted to go to a nursing home. She felt like she would be better off there, and she always told me, no, I don't want to go to a nursing home. She would specifically tell me that.
Professional care was recommended, but Grant and Gabe became her caregivers. Instead of institutionalizing their mother, they let her live out her final days the way she wanted.
He bathed her himself, and we did everything for her. Like, so she couldn't really do much.
She couldn't do anything, but we still did everything for her. That was fine.
She was literally wasting away.
Yeah.
On October 23rd, 2016, 57-year-old Vicky Baylog passed away.
The brothers say as soon as they discovered their mother wasn't breathing, they decided to have Gabriel rush her to Beaumont South Shore here in Trenton. They thought that would be faster. Grant stayed at home to lock up the house. The questions started coming when hospital staff realized Vicky Baylog had been dead for several hours.
According to the police report, her son said it was a normal day. They last spoke to their mom at 10 a.m. Gabe checked on her again at noon and thought she was sleeping. It wasn't until 5 p.m. that day they suspected she had stopped breathing. But by the time Gabe got her to the hospital, the report says her body was cold to the touch. Rigor mortis had already started to set in. Her body emaciated with several sores and lesions. She appeared unkempt and dirty. Not knowing her history and that Vicky was suffering from end stages of ataxia, police were suspicious. They searched their Trenton home, calling it filthy throughout. The living room where their mother slept on a mattress in front of the TV was stained with urine. The assistant Wayne County medical examiner performed an autopsy in October. A ruling came 2 months later, saying her death was caused by cachexia, better known as wasting disease due to malnutrition. But a manner of death was never determined. 7 months after Vicky died, police arrested Grant and Gabe for her murder, involuntary manslaughter, and abuse. They are accused of neglecting their mother until she wasted away.
Obviously, that's very scary. But then on the other side, I know, I'm like, in my heart, I'm like, I know I didn't do anything, and this can't be real.
Coming up next, their mother lost her life, and now the Baylog brothers are fighting for their own.
No one has ever seen this disease before. So when you see it, all these people that have had it in our family, like, they know, like, my mom saw all these people die of it. So she knew what she wanted.
They kind of jumped to a conclusion. They formed a theory and then tried to fit evidence into that.
The legal battle they are facing as the Wayne County prosecutor accuses them of murder. But that is not the only life sentence they are facing. The rest of this story right after the break. Grant and Gabe Baylog are in the legal battle of their lives. They are accused of abusing and murdering their ailing mother, neglecting Vicki Baylog until she literally wasted away. Was it murder or a big mistake?
In my heart, I'm like, I know I didn't do anything, and this can't be real.
They took it at face value, and the Wayne County Medical Examiner had no experience with this disease. The police had no experience with this disease, so they kind of jumped to a conclusion. They formed a theory and then tried to fit evidence into that.
Attorney Kevin Samowski has been defending the Baylog brothers from the start, saying they did not cause her death. The disease caused Vicki Baylog's death. And he's not alone saying that. When this case went to 33rd District Court in Woodhaven, Judge Jennifer Hassan said there is no evidence Gabe and Grant caused the death of their mother and dismissed the charges. Yet the Wayne County prosecutor pushed on, taking the case to Wayne County Circuit Court, where experts testified the skin ulcers and lesions Vicki had on her body were common with the disease. And she did not have any infection that would indicate the uncleanliness of the house advanced her death in any way. Perhaps the most convincing testimony when Vicki's own father testified, saying his daughter saw how her brother suffered trying to fight the disease with a feeding tube. She said, quote, "I do not want to live like that."
No one has ever seen this disease before. So when you see it, all these people that have had it in our family, like, they know, like, my mom saw all these people die of it. So she knew what she wanted.
These two gentlemen, I give them a ton of credit, and I said in court, it would have been very easy in your late 20s to say, hey, Mom, you'd be better off going to a home. Two single guys, they have a lot more freedom. They made a choice to honor their mother's choice.
Circuit Court Judge Cynthia Hathaway also dismissed the charges, but Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy insisted the brothers murdered their mom, taking the case all the way to the Michigan Court of Appeals, where the same case was argued again. Prosecutor Worthy declined to comment because of the pending litigation, but she referred us to a 50-page brief, and in it, they look at specifically, she says that the victim can be heard crying from the home, that there was a complaint made. Now, we came to the home and we asked neighbors who live nearby. They said they never heard any crying. In fact, they were never even interviewed by police. The prosecutor is referring to an anonymous complaint when Vicki was still alive that also claimed one of the sons could be heard yelling at his mom. But it was actually the defense who called the Adult Protective Services investigator who responded to the complaint to appear as a witness for them in court. Jacqueline Thurmond testified the complaint was unsubstantiated, and she determined that Miss Baylog was, quote, being well taken care of by her sons, Gabe and Grant, and it was her wish to live in her home with her two sons.
To a layperson, this is going to look like neglect, or it's going to look like poor care.
Right. I think at the end stage of disease, when there's inability to maintain nutrition, there is wasting of muscles. There is a loss of muscle mass. Weight is abnormally low, and people can look like those who have not received adequate nutrition otherwise.
Dr. Vikram Shakate is a neurologist at U of M Hospital. He is one of 3 doctors in the region that specializes in ataxia and are constantly conducting research in hopes of finding a cure. Dr. Shakate testified in the Baylog case. He says most doctors and medical examiners have a lack of knowledge about this rare disorder, which often leads to misdiagnosis. Dr. Shakate says many of his patients with inherited ataxia choose not to seek support care after they watch other family members suffer a long and painful death.
It likely doesn't extend quality of life, even if at all it extends life. And the majority of my patients with kind of progressive swallowing difficulties from their ataxia do opt not to pursue this, and they're well within their own rights.
Carriers of the gene have a 50% chance of passing it on to their child. Gabe has learned he, too, is suffering from the same thing that has claimed the life of his mother, 3 uncles, grandmother, and 5 great-uncles.
And I just want this to be over with so I can enjoy the last, bit of my life that I have, Having to deal with this isn't any way to live.
Their fate now relies on the appellate court, which will decide whether they will face charges for murdering and abusing their mother, which would carry another life sentence behind bars.
I know that I did nothing wrong, so it's crazy to me that it's still going on.
Right now, the brothers are free on a $200,000 bond. They are anxiously waiting for a decision from the appellate court, which is expected any day.